Calling the Civil Service Commission meeting to order for April 15th, 2025. All commissioners are present except Commissioner Holt, who has an excused absence. I'll now hand it over to Chair Stevens.
Good morning. Thank you. And let's go ahead and get this meeting started, starting with the first item on the agenda.
Approval of minutes from February.
I move to accept the minutes from February.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Next item, please.
Chief Examiner update. I'll go ahead and be very brief. Just a couple of items to touch on. One, we just did our supported employment job fair this last week. It went really well. We did have quite a few less employers than years past, but it was very well attended by candidates. And just a quick thank you to some of the employers that joined us. Spokane Teachers Credit Union, Amazon, the Davenport Hotel, the Inland Chess Club, and of course, thanks to the Parks Department for also joining us as our lone city department. So thank you all. Next and final item, just as I did touch on in February, we had been working long and diligently on the Fire Captain Assessment Center. It is over, and it was just a heck of a lot of time and effort on civil service staff. And just a shout out to them. They did great work. They're very intensive, very laborious. We had great evaluators who joined us from around the country, and we did a great job pulling this off, and we ended up with a great list for Fire Captain. So thank you, civil service staff. And that completes my chief's update.
Thank you. Any questions of our Chief Examiner? All right, thank you. We can move on to agenda item number 4, subsection A, administrative complaint, Kelly Long job survey determination.
All right. From the packet background, we are presenting an administrative complaint filed by Ms. Kelly Long. She is currently classified as an executive assistant in the facilities building maintenance department. And Civil Service determined that Ms. Long was not properly classified, and based on the preponderance of work, would be most properly classified as an administrative manager. This determination was discussed with department and division management. Management believes the management level work rests with the department director, Mr. Jeff Teal. With the management duties removed, the most proper classification for the preponderance of work Ms. Long is performing would be of an office clerk specialist. Ms. Long does not agree with the determination of the job survey. I'll start really quickly with just some basic background of the survey process, and then we'll bring Ms. Long up. So in July of 2024, after a conversation regarding support staff positions within the finance division, Matt Boston, Chief Financial Officer, requested a job survey of Kelly Long, Executive Assistants in the Building Maintenance Department. On July 8th, we sent a survey letter and a position description questionnaire to Ms. Long. We also notified her direct supervisor, Jeff Teal, John Clapp, president of M&P Association, and Ted Cummett, the HR analyst that supports that department. The survey was completed and returned to us September 3rd and was assigned out to Ms. Lisa Olson, Merit System Analyst 3, on September 5th. On October 17th, Ms. Olson made an initial survey determination, and I met with management the first week of November to discuss the determination and the options for the department. December 19th, I met again with management and the CFO regarding the decision as to the level of work they wanted. We let management know that even if the management work was taken off of Ms. Long's plate, she was still not properly classified as an executive assistant. The bulk of her work is in support of the work of the department, i.e. monitoring, tracking, data entry, and that she would be most properly classified as an office clerk specialist. On February 10th, discussion with Ms. Long and Mr. Clapp from M&P regarding the determination and Ms. Long's rights under the merit system. At this time, Ms. Long asked for a compromise, and I let her know that the merit system rules do not allow for that. On the 20th of February, Ms. Long filed an administrative complaint. At this time, I initiated an internal review of the survey process. And I will go into my internal review now. After Ms. Long indicated that she wanted to file an administrative complaint, I initiated internal review based on Rule 12, Section 3. I met with Ms. Olson, Analyst 3, to discuss and review the entire survey process from assignment to determination. I reviewed the PDQ, or position description questionnaire, that Ms. Long submitted, discussed the interview she had with Ms. Long, and the classifications that were used in comparison to Ms. Long's work. I found that the survey process to be thorough and complete. It followed standard civil service practices. She compared Ms. Long's work to a variety of classifications, including her current classification executive assistant, office clerk specialist, office supervisor, administrative manager, and program professional. Based on the responses from Ms. Long in her PDQ and interview, Ms. Olson determined that Ms. Long was working at a higher level than her current classification. Only about 10% of the work fell under the executive assistant classification. She was found to be running the entire office and was tasked with running the entire RFP process, signing off on financial documents, and making independent decisions with little oversight. Executive assistant's core function is to work up to support a director. Administrative managers and office clerk specialists work down to support staff and the functions of the department. The job survey made clear that the preponderance of work on Ms. Long's was not in support of the work of the director, but in support of the work of the department. I then met with both Jeff Teal, Facilities Maintenance Director, and Matt Boston, Chief Financial Officer and Division Head for Ms. Teal's department. Mr. Teal did not agree that Ms. Long was doing managerial work, and Mr. Boston believed that the manager work should be placed on Mr. Teal. We again discussed that with the removal of management work, the work Ms. Long was performing would be that of an office clerk specialist. We discussed that job survey determinations are made on the preponderance of work, not specific job tasks. Management made it clear that office clerk specialist was the best direction for the department. Management retains its right to determine the level of work they want completed in the department, and management has made clear to civil service they do not wish to upgrade the position to an administrative manager, and the managerial duties are best placed on the facilities director. What was best for the department is to reclass the position down to an office clerk specialist. Civil service can support this reclassification based on the job survey and the determination that the managerial work would be done by the department director. Civil service recommends resurveying in 1 year to ensure that the higher level work is still being performed by the director. Before we go any further, Karen.
Mr. Chair, I need to recuse myself from this discussion, so I will be sitting right down there. The reason I need to recuse myself is because I did have a conversation with Ms. Long probably a month or two ago and feel that it wouldn't be right for me to be part of this.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. Prior to calling Ms. Long up, are there any questions of Ms. Pearson regarding anything that she just entered into the record?
No.
All right. Ms. Long, if you'd like to come on up.
And just before you get started, let me just read something real quick into the record so that we're all clear on what the Commission's role is and what we'll be looking to determine today. So from This would be an appointing officer or incumbent employee who disagrees with an assigned classification may file an administrative complaint in accordance with Rule 12, investigations and hearings. The complaining party has the burden of showing that the civil service determination is incorrect. So I just wanted to make sure we were all clear on why we're here, what we're looking to hear testimony from you from. And with that, I will let you introduce yourself, and we may proceed if you are ready to proceed.
Yes, thank you. My name is Kelly Long, and I am the Executive Assistant for the Facilities Department. And I want to thank you this morning for allowing me to tell my side of this story. I want to give you some background because I have been in a situation where I've gone through desk audits, I've gone through reductions, I've have a history of knowing what these processes should look like and feel like. I don't believe that that has happened here. So let me just, when I found out about this job opening was posted by Civil Service for Facilities Department in April of '22 for an admin specialist, administrative specialist. And I knew Mr. Jeff Teal worked for this department, and we had conversations together. I was really intrigued by the fact that an administrative specialist performs highly specialized administrative services, responsible office support work, and a variety of analytical tasks associated with various department programs, policies, and procedures. I qualified under the specialized path with 4 years of administrative and secretarial work experience, to include 2 years of arranging appointments, assisting in preparations of meetings, responding to public inquiries, editing, independently composing letters, and other correspondence. So I applied for the administrative specialist position. My experience was enough to move me to testing. I tested, and I was placed on the hire list in May of 2022. So through civil service and their determination, I qualified for an admin specialist. I had a couple other employment opportunities, but ultimately I decided to take the position with the City of Spokane and Jeff Teal because I wanted a supervisor that I knew was going to have my back and give me the information I needed. I had not been in that role for a while. I was excited, 37 years I have working with various community colleges of Spokane and the Farm Service Agency, USDA program, serving members of this city and county. So I was hired to perform these specialized administrative tasks. The position description states that the list is illustrative. It's not a comprehensive listing of all the functions and duties. Now, based on the admin specialist duties, I have provided you how I believe I meet those duties. And those duties, for the most part, were changed and eliminated when the executive assistant position was reclassified from the admin specialist. Many of those duties were eliminated. And I believe that's why I'm here today, because I was the only executive assistant supporting a department division director. At no time prior to this job survey had any indication of my job duties coming into play been told to me by Ms. Pearson or Mr. Boston. I don't believe that that is fair. I believe that if my job duties were being looked at by Mr. Boston and Civil Service to ensure that I was doing those duties, that communication should have been clear from the start. And it was not provided. There were times that there was correspondence between Ms. Pearson and Mr. Boston about my job duties instead of my supervisor. My supervisor and I have never had the ability to go through the job duties and explain anything. Ms. Olson told me during our initial conversation, September 17th of last year, that if she had any questions about what I was doing, she would reach out to my supervisor. She didn't do that. And I think that that leads a lot of uncertainty in what my job duties are. Mr. Teal has not changed any of my job duties. I'm still processing contracts, a high level, ensuring that our bids are going out accurately and consistently. I do support Mr. Teal and our entire department. We have 5 trades, 2 supervisors, and 5 custodians, and a project manager, real estate manager that I support in my position. So I'm not just supporting the office work, I'm supporting the entire team and all of our maintenance agreements, contracts, and so forth. So I believe there needs to be a position like the administrative specialist for the city of Spokane because it supports the department and not just the director. From my research, that's been eliminated when the administrative specialist position was reclassified to the executive assistant position. And my processes require independent judgment. They require critical thinking skills. And I pivot on a moment's notice when we get work requests in. If it's a life safety issue or, there's water running out of the toilet on the 5th floor. Those are things that I see on a daily basis that I have to process with my team. So I would ask that based on the communication and lack of, I was never initially told that Mr. Boston was the one requesting my job survey or why. I can understand, given the information that Kelsey gave this morning, why. But I also believe that it was targeted towards that position, and I wasn't given an adequate amount of support to provide information and clarity during the process. My supervisor wasn't provided that opportunity by anybody, and I wasn't provided that opportunity. Decisions were made to remove things from my plate that haven't been removed. And if I'm just tracking and processing or tracking and monitoring, that would be easy, but I'm not. And I think the level of work that I am doing does not support my position. An office clerk specialist, I'm doing way more than what they are allowed to do. there's no adequate, for demotion, the reference is, the definition for a demotion is not, is you fail your probation or it's a disciplinary action. This demotion, I feel, is a slap in my face for my skills and abilities also. It's going to financially impact my family severely. On top of the fact that I will no longer be doing, I don't know what I won't be doing because, like I said, nothing has changed in my job description. Jeff has indicated that, he makes those final decisions, and he does. I put everything together, though, for him to make those final decisions. So without the accuracy of the information that I have and I provide him, he doesn't make those decisions. So I am supporting him for his work. And Mr. Boston said that he couldn't support paying me to do the duties I'm not doing, and I agree with that. I'm not doing the executive level, the executive assistant work. But that work was removed from my job description a year ago with the reclass, or the title change. And so I don't think it's fair that one person who doesn't fit in the square and becomes a unicorn, as Kelsey's told me many times, that I should be the one that suffers in my job and what I'm doing. So I would ask that the commission nullify this job survey, that they reinstate a position like the administrative specialist or a department specialist for people in my position that are supporting the entire department, working outside of a office clerk specialist, but not in an executive level. I have provided you with communication that states that I should not be making independent decisions, that I shouldn't be signing off on any financial decisions, and if that's the case, then there goes the majority of my work. And Mr. Boston did say I could sign off on routine financial items, but yet, according to what Ms. Olson has provided, I shouldn't be even doing that as an office clerk specialist. So I would once again just ask that you reinstate a middle support kind of individual for the department directors, and that this survey be nullified and put me back into a position where I was what I was hired to do. So, do you have any questions for me?
Thank you. Commissioners, open it up to questions of Ms. Long.
Give me a minute, I'm thinking about that.
What I will add is that we were just given this document from you this morning, and so
Yes.
obviously we have not had a chance to thoroughly digest it yet. And I guess I'll just ask one basic question. As we started the hearing and prior to you beginning your testimony, my outline was to say that the burden of proof on you was to show that the determination that was made by civil service was incorrect, given the facts that they were provided through the survey process and through interviews. And so I guess I'll push that back to you to maybe clarify in just a sentence or two how you believe this was incorrect based on the information that was provided?
I don't believe that I fit in an office clerk specialist position because what I am doing requires critical thinking. There is no, every contract that we develop is different. There is no, so I have to make sure that everything is accurate when I request it, when it comes back from legal, and then it's sent out for contract and signature. And then the process of, maintaining that contract. So there's a lot of very critical information that I am doing in analytical skills that I am doing on a daily basis. There was not a position that supported the facilities department when I was hired, so they didn't really know what I was going to do. And I have come in and taken over a lot of the duties of processing all of our budget payments, well, not just budget payments, our payments for vendors, things like that. I have to make sure that they're all correct. It's not every invoice isn't necessarily the same, and I have to know which services are being provided to know what needs to be completed to get them paid. So I believe I'm doing specialized skills that are above an office clerk specialist, and I'm doing analytical information all the time also. So I don't agree with the office assistant determination, even removing what duties are supposed to have been removed from my plate.
Right, so what you're saying, Ms. Long, is that while the classification changed, you're still doing the same work, even though you're not supposed to be doing the same work. That's the crux of what you're saying on that front? Mm-hmm. And then, is it your anticipation that those duties will be removed at some point in the near future? Or is it your understanding that those duties will continue to remain on your plate?
There was a discussion on job duties that fall under the director's purview, but there has been nothing removed from my plate because the information that the director needs, I provide that all to him for the approval. So nothing has been removed. There was just, I believe, a miscommunication when we were talking about what I do with Ms. Olson. But I was never given the ability to review that information and answer questions, and neither was my supervisor.
Are you alleging that the survey then is incorrect?
Yeah.
And did you have notice that the survey was happening?
I received notice that it was being requested by civil service. I did not know it was Matt Boston that requested the survey until January.
But you had noticed that there was going to be a survey?
Yes. I thought it was a follow-up to the testing that I participated in earlier.
If you were to sit down with the survey, is there a particular section or particular question that you would point out as incorrect or would change?
I haven't seen the result, the compiled information
So you
from,
haven't read you haven't seen the survey itself?
no.
Okay.
I've seen what I've provided, but I have not seen a compiled information of these are what duties we see you are doing or any of that. There is correspondence from Lisa Olson on what information needs to be removed from my, let's see. It's in a correspondence to Kelsey on October 18th. Kelsey, I took the task from my meeting with Kelly and put in red the items that would be outside of an office clerk specialist. In purple are comments from me. Is responsible for the bid process, including RFQ, setting up walkthroughs, point person for questions, addendums, requesting COI from the lowest bidder and their subs, setting up billing with awarded company. These processes should still have oversight with the project manager, department head. I provide all of that information. And then they are the ones, I'm still doing that. That's what I do. And I'm still because I'm supporting project manager and our department head.
Ms. Long, can you tell us what you're reading from for the record?
It is a email that's 4 pages from the back.
And that's the packet of
Yes.
documents you provided to us
Yes.
this morning?
And it's from
And how did you acquire this?
I acquired this through my public records request,
Okay.
which they're still getting me information. This was only a small portion that I received last week.
And they told you it was not a complete
Yes.
disclosure as yet?
Yes. So. So I did receive a communication from Lisa stating that she had made a determination at the admin manager position, but, and it went to the division head. And then it was only after the meeting in December that Jeff met with me after the holidays and told me that my position was being demoted. So it's been quite a process.
But yet, it's still your testimony that you are doing these tasks that are supposed to be off your
Yes.
list. And who is giving you those tasks to do?
My supervisor, Jeff Teal.
I do have a follow-up question for you. So you just mentioned that in looking at some correspondence from the civil service analyst, that the initial result of the survey was in looking at all the job duties that you were doing, that if you were to continue doing those particular job duties in the manner in which you described, that the proper classification would be administrative manager. Do you agree with that? Do you think that is correct?
I'm not supervising anyone, so that would come into play on, I haven't looked at all of those duties clearly to see if that's the level I'm doing. I'm not supervising, and I think that was one of the the qualifications in the packet that Ms. Pearson provided. So I can't say yes 100% to that.
Okay. And I guess where I'm going with that is just that if the determination had been made by, I know we're playing hypothetical here, but if the determination had been made by the department heads to say, yes, we'd like to upgrade that position, would we be sitting here having the same conversation?
Probably not.
Okay.
But I also, I would think that I would be looking at that job description. I kind of had concerns when they revised the job description from executives to executive assistant, because I felt that it was meant for a higher level position than where I'm at, and doing a lot more duties for somebody at a higher level, not at my level. So, yeah.
Sure. And I just want to follow up on some of the questions that Commissioner Palmerton asked. And one of those was, has anything changed for you in relation to the duties you're actually performing versus what this came out to? And you testified that no, you're still doing the same job duties. Have you had any conversations with your supervisor, Mr. Teal, that would change the complexion on how duties are viewed? Or, I guess I'm curious as to if this has come down, what is your understanding of how you're supposed to move forward?
We've had conversations, but the interpretation of what Ms. Olson was seeing I was doing has never been communicated to Mr. Teal for his clarity on how that happens. I'm still preparing all of the contract information. I'm preparing all of the information to send projects out to bid. They always have run through the program manager and Jeff. And so my jobs haven't changed. I believe it's the perception or the way I possibly answered the questions during the interview. I sometimes have aphasia and my words get mixed up. And I was really specific when I talked with Ms. Olson that if she had any questions, to please contact me or Jeff, and that was never done. So I don't know how to answer the questions that I don't know were asked.
Thank you. And I was not trying to delve into hearsay answers, just more what your understanding
Yes.
of how you were supposed to proceed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Commissioner Lindsay, anything?
Is Mr. Teal here today?
No, he was supposed to get an invite from Kelsey. Did you send him an invite? Okay. So,
Is there someone present representing the management of the department that would like to provide some testimony?
he
We
would
do
be,
have Alex Scott, City Administrator, who is representing management here today.
Hello, Chair, members of the Commission. Alex Scott, City Administrator, and I am here today representing management in this matter. Don't have a lot to add to what Kelsey said earlier. Based on deliberation, discussions with civil service, discussions with Mr. Teal, the determination has been made by management that this work fits better under the specialist classification. Repeatedly, Mr. Teal has reiterated what it is that he views as his role versus support staff. So I really don't have a lot to add to that, other than that's the determination that we've made in collaboration with him.
But what about the allegation that the job duties are currently the same as before the reclassification?
Well, so that's a question that we've asked of Mr. Teal, and he has said that he's made changes or is making changes to that. I think that's going to be an ongoing conversation, but we've asked that question, and he has said adamantly that he's made changes or is making changes or intends to make changes.
But wouldn't those changes need to be made at the same time as the reclassification? Okay, I see. So you're saying the reclassification hasn't happened yet, so the duties are still the same because of that?
Yes, but also Mr. Teal has said, Mr. Teal's version conflicts with what you've heard here. And he has said that in no uncertain terms in multiple meetings. Is that fair, Kelsey?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the commission needs to hear from Mr. Teal, because while I'm interested in what you're saying has occurred, obviously, we would need actual testimony from Mr. Teal to understand that better.
I will say that no reclassification based on this job survey has occurred at this point. Because Ms. Long filed an administrative complaint in February, everything has been put on hold until the commission makes a determination of the survey results. But management has made its point clear that they wished to reclassify the position down to an office clerk specialist, just for clarity.
Is that consistent with what you understand?
That is accurate, yep.
I'd like to hear from Mr. Teal.
Yeah.
I believe we have that ability.
I work in a system that requires that I show proof beyond a reasonable doubt before a decision is made by a jury. It's a defect in my character, but I need to hear from Mr. Teal.
I get it.
Is he available?
I don't think he works at City Hall. They're located at the Intermodal Center, so we may have to continue this on to the May meeting.
Next month.
Yep.
Do we need to provide Mr. Teal with a more formal request, like a subpoena?
I think that probably won't be necessary. I think we can ensure that Mr. Teal can make it to the May meeting.
Perhaps you could impress upon Mr. Teal the necessity of his appearing, or maybe his legal counsel can.
I think if we need to do a subpoena to make that easier for him, we're happy to do that.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions right now?
No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Sorry
for
that
your time.
Thank you,
took this.
Alex. I think you will have to do a motion to continue
I
this.
think
though.
we will have to take a motion to, well, I can't make the motion, but one of you can.
I move to continue the rest of the hearing to the May meeting, when we can hopefully hear from, or we intend on hearing from Mr. Teal. Are you looking for the date? What's the date of the May meeting?
Date of the May meeting, please.
That's all right. Mr. Holt will have to be here then.
Well, we can, I amend the motion to continue the hearing to June 17, so that the current commissioners can be available to continue hearing evidence from Mr. Teal.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I assume there was no further discussion on that, so we called for a vote. So the motion passes to belay this until our June meeting.
Duly noted.
And if we can obviously express to Mr. Teal that his attendance would be mandatory. Yes. All right. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to 4, new business, item B, please.
All right, let me get there. Hang on a second. Item 4B, Resolution 2025-04, classification actions. We present 37 vacant job classifications for deactivation. The 32 following information technology classifications have been replaced by the new 13 new classes adopted by the Commission in August of 2024. There's the list of all of them. And we have 5 additional non-IT positions or classifications that are vacant and with no need for foreseen future use. 053 Office Administrator, 108 Payroll Supervisor, 600 Media Manager, 919 Police Major, 926 Integrated Medical Services Manager. All the affected departments and bargaining units have been notified of the deactivations and raised no concerns.
I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve?
Move to approve. I second that.
All right, any discussion?
Sure? Everybody
Yes,
sure?
Yeah,
yes.
that's a good point.
Careful what you wish for. Nothing further.
I'm not sure if that was discussion or commentary, but I share the same feelings because it does seem that we frequently say, go away, and then somebody comes back and says, can you bring it back? So if this is the prevailing opinion at this time and it has the support of management and labor, I guess that's rather telling. Further discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, on to, where are we at? Must be item C, annual report presentation, please.
All right, everyone. In front of you, you've got our beautiful color version of our 2020, complete 2024 annual report. I will let you peruse through this at your leisure. I have just a few things to highlight that occurred in 2024 for us. Let me grab my notes here. In classification work, we did quite a lot of classification work in 2024. We created 23 new classifications. Most of that were all of the new IT classifications that we created, hence why we're deleting all of the old ones. And I am happy to say that we have the entire IT staff moved into those new classifications. The allocations are complete and everyone has been moved over. And we are completely done with the IT class study. So it took too long, and we're really happy to see it off of staff's plate. Non-classified employees, just the trend that is, just to highlight. Non-classified positions continue to rise, which has been the case over the course of the last 5 years. They continue to tick up those exempt department and assistant department head positions. Just a trend we're seeing continuing in the same direction as it has. Moving on to turnover. Our turnover rate increased again this year up to 8.2%, which again is a continuing trend we've seen, is that turnover is increasing year over year. 2024 was a bit unique in that we had a very significant budget deficit, and the city was offering retirement incentives. So we had 80 retirements, and which is much higher than normal. We also had to we issued potential layoff notifications to 31 classified civil service employees, but during the budget reconciliation process, only 11 received official layoff notifications in November, and of those, 7 employees transferred in lieu of layoff, 4 were ultimately laid off. And of course, we don't have any figures for layoffs for exempt project or temp seasonals, since those are not classified positions. Some other recruitment update on page 13. Despite us having a sort of a managed hiring process of trying to slow hiring due to budget issues, we still saw a 6.8% increase in applications from 23 to 24. And our recruitments only slightly decreased from 178 in 23 to 172 in 24. So still quite a big body of work being completed, even with budget concerns. Just a quick highlight of our recruiting and marketing. Our marketing coordinator opened recruitments on a variety of job boards. We attended 11 job fairs and events throughout the year. We partnered with a local marketing firm to create and update recruitment video, replacing an older version to ensure we had something that was more energetic and aligned with current trends. And I think we've shown that video to you in previous commission meetings. We also embarked on the Merit Tour, which was an internal communications campaign designed to foster relationships with employees outside of City Hall who have limited access to civil service during working hours. We visited 8 departments, providing an opportunity to address questions about transfers, promotions, the rules, the rule changes, and more. And we are continuing those tours again into 25. They were very successful and very engaging with employees. Why did I do this? We did have requisition rise. Requisitions are the formal request from a department to civil service to fill a job opening. It signals to us that they are ready to start the hiring process. And as expected, there was a 23% decrease in filled requisitions in 2024. Obviously, probably driven by budget concerns. And those are all the highlights I have. I know I presented this packet to you this morning, but I wanted to give you the pretty color version to look through. It's yours to peruse throughout your leisure. We will post this on the city website for anyone else to be able to take a look at and review what's going on in civil service and throughout the organization. Any questions that you have of me?
No, thank you. I do appreciate the picture of the garbage goat.
Yes.
Always fun to see that old guy.
I do have a quick question. In terms of diversity, do we have a breakdown anywhere of hiring different races, different backgrounds?
We certainly could provide that information
Okay, I'm just
from our
curious, 'cause
applicant pool.
When I see
Sure.
one of the ads, it talks about diversity, and I was just thinking that'd be good to at least know that we're out there and it's working.
Any other questions?
Nope.
All right. If we could move on to item 4D, the Rural Review Commission, et cetera.
All right, item 4D. So as you all may recall, the mayor requested Rural Review be reopened to address some Rural Review changes stemming from some legislation that came out of the state legislature regarding preference points for bilingual, multilingual status individuals. The commission approved reopening rule review, and we have been working hard with our merry band of 12 members for the last few months to hammer out some language changes in our current rules and also a resolution as to what the process will be for using that rule. So Resolution 2025-05 is really the actual language change in the rules. We kept it as simple as possible. We just removed the word veterans and just changed it to additional so that it would include veterans preference and/or the bilingual, multilingual scoring criteria. And then Resolution 2025-06 is the actual process that civil service will use when we receive candidates who are requesting preference. One, added to the passing scores of candidates on competitive open entry exams. 5% to a candidate who has obtained full proficiency, professional proficiency, or who is completely fluent as a native speaker in any language other than English. And B, 5% to a candidate with 2 or more years' experience in AmeriCorps. 2, the total preference points may not exceed 10% of the candidate's examination score or the mandatory amount required by state law, whichever is higher. And 3, the percentage shall be added to the passing score of open entry competitive examinations until the candidate's first appointment. Any questions about either of these resolutions? I do have some folks from the Rule Review Committee that do want to kind of get up and talk about process, the changes, et cetera. We'll start with the management. Mr. Scott, did you want to come down?
Yes, thank you. Hi again, Alex Scott, City Administrator. Thank you for considering this. And I just want to especially say thank you to Kelsey, to the entire civil service team for your work on this, and to our labor partners, particularly Joe and the 270 team, Dave and the Guild, John and Local 29, John and MMP. A really robust set of conversations that we had around this, and I think ultimately a really valuable compromise was able to be reached. I want to be clear about, from the management perspective, what we think this is and what we think this isn't. Obviously, this was a mayoral request, but ultimately, I think the goal here is to give this a try and see over time what this does to our lists. Ultimately, we all kind of agreed in the rule review room that the impact, at least initially, probably will be minimal, and that it also will be limited by the extent of our funding to administer this, and by the extent to which we are able to advertise this as being an incentive versus just something that people stumble upon. I also want to be clear that the goal here is not necessarily just to bring people in order to utilize their language proficiency, but rather to create something that makes our lists a slightly better reflection of the community that we have here in Spokane. The point was raised several times by labor that we don't want to end up in a position where folks are being relied upon for skills that do not fit what they're being remunerated for, and we certainly empathize and agree with that. But ultimately, the thought we came to was, let's give this a try. Let's analyze as we go and see what impact, if any, this has on our lists. So thank you for considering. Any questions for me? All right, thanks.
Mr. Duncan?
Tried to hide in the corner and hope that you wouldn't see me. Morning. Happy Jackie Robinson Day to everybody. Go Dodgers. Echo a lot of what Mr. Scott just said. As he mentioned, this came out of a change from the legislature, which it actually is specifically a change for public safety. But the city heard our concerns about that, and they have expanded it for all job types, which I think makes sense. The legislator doing that was kind of a little bit of a slap in the face to us, because we, I think, might be the most diversified department in the city, the police department, yet here we have the legislature again targeting law enforcement. I don't know what their issue is there, but here we are. We obviously supported this. We appreciate the work done to bring it to you folks today. We at the Guild started pushing for something like this several years ago. We have several officers whose first language is not English. The first language is Spanish, and they were and continue to be very heavily relied upon. If you encounter a citizen that only speaks Spanish, well, we have to, what's the most logical thing to do? We can call the language line, or we can bring in the officers that have Spanish as the first language, and it created a lot of extra work for them, which these are, folks of integrity that we're happy to do. The reason why we pushed internally for a specialty pay for these languages is because my members, not the ones that spoke foreign languages, but all the rest of us that relied upon them, saw the incredible benefit and wanted to reward them, and, well, we want more of them. So we pushed forward for several years, finally got it in our last contract. Thank you, Commissioner Stratton, for approving that. So we do have a 2% specialty pay. We left it to the city to set up the initial metrics process on how that would be done. There's 5 languages that are eligible for that. So something to consider going forward. Mr. Scott just talked about how we don't want this, if someone speaks a foreign language, for it to be kind of expected as part of their job duty. It will happen. We saw it in the police department. That's just human nature. If you have someone that comes here and speaks Marshallese, and you have citizens that come in that need our services and they only speak Marshallese, well, we know what's going to happen. So our hope is with the other bargaining units, they're able to, in their next round of negotiations, get some type of specialty pay or incentive, to compensate folks for that foreign language. But getting more people in that speak foreign languages just makes the city better. It makes our departments better, having a more diverse workforce. So we appreciate the city joining us on that goal. The only concern I have, and it's hopefully minor, is that this is going to create some amount of additional work for civil service, and this is going to create some amount of additional cost for civil service. Also, our hope is that you can advocate to our, city and city council for funds and staff to deal with that potential more work. We don't know what it will be, but something to consider. The other thing I was going to say, and I've already lost my train of thought. I don't know if you folks are aware, but civil service is often scapegoated as the reason why our hiring processes take a long time. I'm concerned that this will add to that time, so something else to be aware of. So if we can just kind of keep those things in mind over the next months, years or so, and hopefully we get kind of frequent updates on where things are going, time-wise, cost-wise, staff-wise. But I think this is a good thing, and we're happy to support.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else that wanted to come up and speak regarding the rule review process?
Just for a point of clarity, do we need to do a motion and a vote on each resolution? We can't do them together, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Two
that's what I
separate votes.
assumed, but just, they say about assuming. I will entertain a motion on Resolution 2025-05.
I move to accept Resolution 2025-05.
It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will move on toward a vote. All in favor of adopting this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Let's look at Resolution 2025-06.
I move to accept Resolution 2025-06.
Second.
The resolution has been the subject of a motion and of a second. Any discussion?
Has there been, and maybe this is a question for you, what are the criteria that we're envisioning to, I don't want to say prove up, but to validate or verify the full professional proficiency or native speaker in any language other than English?
We've had lots of conversations about that,
Yeah.
yes. There certainly are a lot of options. I think we're not looking for, we're looking for fluency. That's really sort of what the legislature, and it is not someone who can, conjugate verbs. It is someone who can speak fluently in one or more languages. That verification process will need to be done by civil service, and we will certainly be going to have to hire a group or a company to assist us with that verification process. Yeah.
And that was part of one of my questions as well. But just to follow up on that, is there a requirement to also have fluency in reading and writing in a second or third language?
I am not 100% on that, but I do not think so. I think it is a fluent speaker. So really that, conversational, being able to carry on a conversation is probably the litmus test. But I can give you 100% accuracy next month.
Please. Further discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor, please vote aye.
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 Motion passes. We will now move to agenda item number 5, other business. Anyone? All right, hearing nothing, prior to adjournment, Ms. Harrington, I would like to move to executive session for maybe 15 minutes. Sure. We will be moving to executive session. back, or we're welcome back, I guess. We are now out of executive session, and we are looking at, most likely, agenda item number 6.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We stand adjourned.